I think it is a field that can have a lot of impact, and you can have impact in many diverse domains.
Welcome to HFIG Talks, a podcast produced by the Human Factors Interest Group at the University of Toronto. HFIG is the student chapter of the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society at UofT and consists of students, faculty, and local professionals who are interested in the field of human factors. My name is Dina, and I'm the treasurer of HFIG. I'll be hosting this episode, which is the third in our series of conversations with human factors professors at UofT. In the last two episodes, we talked to Professor Mark Chignall, HFIG's faculty advisor and the director of the Interactive Media Lab, and Professor Greg Jameson, the director of the Cognitive Engineering Lab, so be sure to check those out. In this episode, we'll hear from Professor Birsen Donmez, the director of the Human Factors and Applied Statistics Lab at UofT, who talked to us about her career and her research. Here's our interview with Professor Donmez. So can you tell us a bit about your journey to becoming a human factors professor at UofT?
Sure. So I did my undergraduate degree in Turkey in mechanical engineering. And at least at that time, we didn't really have any human factors focused courses in my department. So human factors was kind of unknown to me by the time I graduated with my degree. But I was looking for graduate school opportunities in the States in particular. And my brother did his MBA at the University of Iowa, so Iowa was a place that we knew. And I was exploring the different engineering departments. Industrial engineering always appeared to me to have more of a systems approach or social component to it compared to mechanical engineering, at least at that time, based on my perspective. And I did explore industrial engineering, and I came across human factors. Just looking at the websites of the professors and descriptions of their research. And I thought, well, this could be a good place, so I should include University of Iowa, particularly industrial engineering, in one of the places that I applied to. And I got an offer from Professor Linda Boyle, who just started at the time as an assistant professor. And I started my master's degree, and I got another advisor. So I had two advisors, and I really enjoyed the research that I was doing in grad school. And I decided to stay for a PhD. And then after that, I decided to stay in academia, although it wasn't my plan to begin with. I guess I didn't really have a plan. And I got a postdoc position at MIT in aeronautics and astronautics, slightly different application domain than what I did for my master's and PhD, which focused on driving behavior research. And then I thought, well, I could apply for faculty positions back in Turkey and also see what's available in North America. And University of Toronto had an opening at the time. And I applied and got the position and really liked the department. So I decided to come here.
Yeah, that's great. I think a lot of us do have that experience when we're from other engineering backgrounds, and then we discover human factors and think, oh, this is a great way for me to apply my engineering background in a new domain or new place. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about what work your lab does now?
Mm-hmm. So my lab mainly focuses on, I guess, the domain of my study for my grad school, and this is driving. We do look at designing basically in-vehicle systems or car technologies that would support the driver, while taking into account the limitations that humans have, in particular attentional limitations. We also conduct research related to how drivers interact with other road users. And we conduct research in the healthcare domain, and the connecting thread there is basically attention. We are looking at operator attention, inattention, or distraction within different healthcare applications, such as intensive care units and operating rooms. We try to understand why they happen and how they may be mitigated using different technologies.
Yeah, that's great. And there are a lot of, different applications of human factors. Like I'm personally involved in some of these, so I do know some of those applications and the different projects that you're working on. So do you want to elaborate on some of the more recent projects that you're doing, sort of the ones that are top of mind for you right now?
Sure. Recently we've been focusing more on driving automation and how the human driver interacts with driving automation and how we could make that interaction, I guess, designed better. And in particular, we are focusing on current state of the art driving automation available in privately owned vehicles. These are called, based on the Society of Automotive Engineers taxonomy, level 2 systems, where the driver has to still be involved in the driving task and monitor how these automation implementations are working pretty much at all times. So we try to understand how well they are able to do that monitoring task and how well they're able to step in when the automation fails, basically, with the lateral or longitudinal control of the vehicle, which is called a takeover performance. Another line of research relates to driver interactions with vulnerable road users. And we are starting a project with the City of Guelph and in collaboration with the University of Toronto Geography and Psychology departments to understand driver scanning failures towards vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians and cyclists, as they are navigating different infrastructures in the city. And this research is going to be conducted using our instrumented vehicle, which is an actual car, where people are going to be driving in the city of Guelph as we collect their gaze location data through an eye tracking system. The other type of work that we do, in particular related to automation, is conducted in our driving simulator, which gives us the ability to create controlled conditions and repeatable scenarios so that we can maybe get to causality a little bit better, although simulators do have certain limitations. They are not the real world. So the findings that you obtain in a simulator always have to be confirmed with real world data. But it's with automation, basically, given that certain implementations may not exist yet for an HMI, a human machine interface, you do need simulator platforms to be able to prototype these things and rapidly test them to then inform the design of actual vehicle interfaces that we may see in the future implemented and we may get real world data on.
So another question I have is, well, we're now a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, and that has changed the world, in a lot of different ways and in unprecedented ways, and has certainly affected the research landscape. So can you reflect a bit about how the work that your lab does has been affected and how things have changed over the past year?
Yeah, so our in-person human participant research has been halted since past March, basically a year now. We were allowed back in for short period of time, but it was too short for us to really do any data collection for an experiment, which has led us to stress a little bit, I must admit, but at the same time, pivot our research to methodologies where we can still make contributions to the fields, but not do in-person data collection. So one thing that my lab is learning about and doing more of is to conduct systematic and scoping reviews, which are very powerful evidence gathering tools and very important, I think, for the research community. They are tools that are widely used in the healthcare domain. And us having healthcare connections and collaborators has enabled that switching a little bit to go better, I would say. But we also tap into a lot of the University of Toronto library resources and librarians to teach us how to perform these methodologies that we weren't trained on previously. We have also conducted more survey studies, basically opinions of drivers and knowledge of drivers regarding different driver behaviors as well as vehicle technologies. And we are looking at other ways to collect some data or driving behavior data that isn't just an opinion or a knowledge item, a survey item, by creating surrogate tasks for driving. And we'll see how those go. We haven't yet done any.
Yeah, it's challenging, especially in the driving domain, to move that experience to an online format. So that's challenging to think about how you are going to collect that data, for sure. Yeah, so we've reflected a bit about the past year and your past journey or career. Maybe we can talk a bit more about the directions that you see for human factors research in the future. Are there any trends you're seeing for human factors? You mentioned the need for sort of like synthesizing knowledge using scoping reviews, but maybe it's not just methodology. Are there new like application domains? Maybe in your own subspecialty of human factors as well?
Yeah, so I think introducing new methodologies to the field, I think that is important. And we can do that through interdisciplinary work. I think we can do that better through interdisciplinary work. Another methodology that is already being implemented is, I think, machine learning to potentially conduct analysis on our data, but also do predictions. I think there's a lot of potential, but at the same time, I think we all need to be trained on these methods to really understand when they should be used and when they shouldn't be used and what the pitfalls are. So I think just like we see misuse of statistics, I think we're going to see misuse of machine learning in human factors, but I don't think it's just bound by human factors. I think it's going to happen in different fields as well, because these are very powerful tools, and software is readily available where you plug in your data and get some output. And the onus is on the analysts to ensure that they apply these methods properly. So I think there's a lot of potential there, but at the same time, we have to be cognizant of what the limitations are with these methodologies. In terms of the domains in human factors, I mean, driving automation has really taken a life of its own in the past 10 years or so, maybe more so during the past 5 years. So there's just a lot of activity around it. And I suspect that it's going to continue in that path. And as higher levels of automation are implemented, such as what SAE calls level 4, where you don't really need a driver, but this vehicle operates autonomously under under certain conditions. I think there's going to be more research in that area. In simulated settings, but we're also seeing trials with, for example, shuttles, both in Toronto and elsewhere in the world. So I think we'll get some real world data as well, which is exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I guess, do you have any final thoughts or comments or anecdotes that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I think human factors is an exciting area, and I'm probably biased as I'm in it, but I've made the choice to work in this field, as I did say, that I come from a mechanical engineering background. And I think, I think it is a field that can have a lot of impact, and you can have impact in many diverse domains with a human factors background. It's not just driving, but it's really anywhere where you do have humans that are interacting with technologies, and you can, through your skill set, make that interaction better for the human, and not just enhance safety, but also just their well-being and satisfaction with the system. And so I think, I like our field. I'd like to maybe end with that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that. And I guess this is the end of our interview.
Okay, good. Hopefully that will be of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you to Professor Donmez for the interesting conversation, and thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and as always, stay tuned for another episode of HFIG Talks.